Kara Shalom, welcome to our watercolor journey. We're going to do a line and wash today. Red poppies, just done very loosely on potentate rough paper. The materials used are listed in the description below. We also used a micron pen, a number 2 micron pen, and a Posca pen, a fine Posca pen. So the paper is flat on the table, and you can wet the paper completely, as wet as possible, with a mop or with a hockey brush. The rough is a little bit difficult when it comes to drawing, so you might want to use cold press instead of the rough. We're using a large brush there, and we start with Sepia and a touch of Ultramarine, the French Ultramarine. Now, Sepia is a wonderfully versatile color because with the ultramarine it gives you beautiful soft grays, and if you mix it with a sap green it gives you a nice dark deep green. So at the top you want to create distance, so you use the blues and the grays, and at the bottom you want it to come closer to the viewer, so it's more of the green and the brown and the yellow ochre, because you want the colors to be a little bit warmer than at the top. We added aureolin to the palette originally, but it wasn't used because the yellow ochre did a good job on its own to bring enough light into the painting. So as you can see, you just add your colors randomly, make sure that it's covered nicely. The paper is really very wet, so the colors flow beautifully. And it's a loose painting, so don't worry if it spreads too much. You are going to be able to contain it later. So the Scarlet Red that we use there is the warmer red, and then Perylene Red is a little bit of a cooler red and a brighter red. So the two colors fuse nicely to give you variation in the poppy. You can use a thinner brush to create the stalks. It will still flow everywhere because your paper is wet, but you are creating the base for the stalks here. And as you can see, the water makes the paint flow very, very wildly actually, so you can just lightly dab it out. Don't dry the paper too much because you're still going to need the wetness, but just dab the excess paint out a little bit. Use the Sap Green now for the stalks. You can really play with the colors. You don't have to be very precise that one color needs to be in one place. And you can use the thin brush to create more stalks and to create a little bit of texture in your painting. You'll have to wait for the paint to dry a little bit. Wait until the sheen is off, and then you are going to add salt to it a little bit later on. So have the salt ready so that when the paper has dried a little bit, you can add it with confidence. So the sheen is off the paper a little bit. Now you are going to spread the salt in, and you can spread the salt anywhere you want. Around the flowers, on the flowers, wherever you want. It will work by itself and create a beautiful texture for your painting. Once it's dry, you can see the salt has made nice white marks there. Make sure that you brush off all the excess salt so that it doesn't go onto your paintbrush. Then wet the poppies a little bit with your big brush, and then start dabbing in a little bit more color. That's your layering that you are going to do now, just to give it depth and more dimension, and also to shape the flowers a little bit. Add a few dark lines just to give it the shape of the leaves. And of course a little bit darker at the bottom, a little bit lighter at the top. The grey color used there comes from a mixture of the French ultramarine and the sepia. The ultramarine also, if you add it to the red, gives you a beautifully soft, velvety purple color that gives variation to the flowers as well. At the top of the palette there, the Sap Green was mixed with the sepia, and that gave us the little bit of a darker green. So you have variation. You don't need to have two different greens in your palette. Just add the sepia to the Sap Green, and there you have a nice variation by itself. So on the dry paper, now you can splatter a little bit. That gives texture as well. And then you can start filling in the pods at the back. Use a little bit of variation there as well. A little bit more blue, a little bit more grey, just so that it doesn't, not all of them look the same. Also make sure that you don't draw the stalks as solid lines. They are sort of like broken lines, because that gives you the idea of light shining on them. You can also wet the paper again a little bit and then add some of the sepia, yellow ochre and so on. Use some of the colors that you've used in the flowers in the bottom as well. That just brings harmony in your painting. And you can also splatter some of the red. The variety of colors in the bottom give your painting a little bit of interest. If you make it all the same green or the same brown, then it becomes monotonous and boring. So vary the colors a little bit, add some mixtures, make up your own mixtures that you can use in your pods or in the flowers, in the stalks. It just gives variation and makes it more interesting. Use the tip of the brush for a little bit of hatching, just to give texture to the flowers. Then you let your painting dry properly, and then you can start with your line. Now, the Micron pen is really, really wonderful to use, but it does struggle a bit on the rough paper. You will make your lines on the outside of your painting, and you can also use the pen to do some hatching. And again, this doesn't need to be precise. It's a kind of an outline, gives you sort of the shape of the flower, but don't be too precise. Just make it as free and loose as possible. Even with the stalks, don't make it too precise, make them thinner, wider. Don't try to really outline them like a a child's painting. Just draw your lines randomly. And then you can also draw extra strokes in with the pen. And then with a Posca or with a white gouache, you can make the light areas in your painting. Add some light to the flowers and to the pods, just to bring a bit of brightness back into it. It's remarkable what the Posca pens can do. They are really very, very handy. You can use the white to help shape the flower a little bit, and to vary the light to dark contrast in your elements. So that's basically the very easy loose poppy flower painting. You don't need a lot of colors, you don't need a lot of effort. It is just a very relaxing exercise to see how these random dots and blobs of paint can actually become a really cute painting with beautiful flowers. Thank you so much for watching and for joining us. Please like and subscribe, and leave us a comment. It's always great to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. We hope to see you soon. Vaya con Dios.